And Sir Desmond, am I right in saying that you are not a particularly happy individual to have found out about this the way you did? And are the government at the moment treating their backbenchers like yourself shabbily?
Well, I vary between despair and apoplexy
Really?
in terms of my anger, but I can't get excited about there being a leak and it being in the newspaper.
Right.
What I'm really devastated about is the fact that the decision has been made.
Yes.
How I was told about the decision or found out about the decision, I can live with. Yes, it should have been announced in Parliament. We shouldn't have heard it in newspapers. But actually, what is wrong is that they've made the wrong decision. That's the problem.
Yeah. Now, see, you made a very good point there. It's a bit of a side issue, isn't it? How the information came out into the public arena, although we all know politics is a dirty game and some people played it to their advantage. But the real issue here is that we're going into lockdown now until at least December the 2nd. Your apoplexy must have been increased a bit this morning when you saw Mr. Gove hinting, well, it might not be December the 2nd if the figures aren't right. My view is, lockdown can go on forever, and as soon as you lift lockdown, you get a spike in the COVID rates, and then you lock down again. I think it's a pointless exercise. Do you concur?
I do, and just look what happened last time.
Yeah.
The reality is that deaths peaked within 10 days of the lockdown starting.
That's right.
Is whether the lockdown made any difference at all, given that was the trajectory.
Yes.
But we went on and on and on, nevertheless. You know, the whole thing, the danger is that this just extends.
So what is the alternative in your view, Sir Desmond? If lockdown has already proven not to work, it's a failure, what else do we do?
Well, it's not that it's just a failure, it's a disaster.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, we will be paying for this for years. People with unemployment, their businesses wrecked, their lives ruined, and they die in greater numbers. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
But the alternative is this. Look, 1,700 people pretty well die every day. That's
sadly
the long-term average. And hey, we're bouncing about at the long-term average now. It seems to me there's an absolute contradiction that being told that there is a deadly virus, pandemic, wreaking havoc in the land, and yet, hold on a minute, the death rate is the daily deaths are in 5% of the long-term average, which varies quite a lot anyway. Let's face it, when we have a flu epidemic, a bad flu year, it kills off 50 to 80,000 people. Do we lock down the economy? Do we run around like headless chickens? Do we wreck everything? It's just madness. It's mass hysteria.
It is mass hysteria. I have a view, Sir Desmond, that we should focus it not on group decisions. So, for instance, Wales decided to lock down, Scotland decided to lock down, Europe decided to lock down, we then decided to lock down. I would prefer we did a complete volte-face on this and said, no, in this country, we're going to hand it back to the individual. Individual responsibility is the best way to fight COVID. We say to people, if you want to self-isolate, self-isolate. If you want to arrange shielding for members of your family, arrange that. It is your personal responsibility to your family and your relatives. If you are sensible and you wear a mask and you distance yourself from other people and you make sure that when you're on public transport, you're protected and other people are protected from you, then we can get through this, because we have to start living with it, not running away from it.
That's correct. If you just do what everyone else is doing, that's what I call herd stupidity.
Right.
You're
I
following
like it.
on.
I like it.
Well, it's all right. Well, they're doing, so we better do it.
Yeah.
The reality
I
is,
agree.
again, back to the last lockdown. Why did the death rate peak within 10 days of the lockdown starting? The reality is that in the weeks before that lockdown, people had started to take the advice, hands, face, space, and behave in a logical manner that led to a diminution in the death rate from the disease. That's the way that sensible societies proceed, without interfering with the fundamental liberties of people, even to worship in church as they wish.
Yes, no, it's absolutely right.
All is being done.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. Now, of course, you are an eminent Tory MP, Sir Desmond. You will have read the political landscape right from the start of this. Why were we told that the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is a libertarian and he won't be dragged, into rash decisions which cripple millions of people's lives, not physically, but economically and socially? Why were we told that when he seems to, at every turn, just fold in the face of the scientists? What is he frightened of? Why can't he stand up and say, look, I've got to take a chance here. I've got to take a chance and say, no, we cannot crash any more of the economy. We cannot put people into penury. We cannot start affecting the lives of patients in hospitals who haven't got COVID-19. I want to know why he hasn't been brave enough to do that.
Well, when we were told it was true. But of course, things change. When you get this, a bunch of, you might call them crazed scientists who are entirely focused on their own expertise and their own discipline.
Yeah.
And you ask these people the question, how do you stop the spread of a deadly disease that spreads by human contact? Their answer is, you must stop human contact.
Yeah.
And when you get all of these scientists at the same time providing the same advice, you can understand that some people will buckle. I'm afraid that I thought that the Prime Minister wasn't going to buckle. I thought that when Keir Starmer embraced the idea of another lockdown so enthusiastically 10 days ago, it gave Boris the space to say no. And he did initially say no. He did resist the scientists for a bit.
Yeah.
But hey, they've got the better of them with their charts, with their deathly predictions, which, let's face it, have all been wrong in the past.
Yes.
Hey, well, I don't know.
Okay, so have we got a civil war within the Tory party? Is there going to be a vote on this in the House of Commons, even though everybody won't be there, obviously? And what could the implications for party unity be?
Well, it'll be civil and it won't be war.
Right.
The fact is we can disagree profoundly with one another about the decision that's been made. But we can still be civil with one another and reasonable in a democracy. Hey, the fact is there'll be a vote and one side will win. And as a Democrat, I have to accept that, however profoundly I disagree with it.
Yeah. When are we going to run out of money? Because Rishi Sunak's done a brilliant job. He was he's been the golden boy of things so far, but it's going to get increasingly tough for him. I mean, at some stage, are we in danger of the Chancellor literally turning around and saying, I can't sanction any more handouts, we haven't got them, and then you've got a major problem if your Prime Minister and your Chancellor are at odds with each other?
Well, the short answer to your question, when will we run out of money? We've already run out of money.
That's true.
We are borrowing.
True. Yeah.
We are borrowing billions and billions and billions.
Yeah.
And hey, it's going to have to be paid back. And who's going to have to pay it back? Over generations, all those young people who are now being made unemployed, they're the ones that are going to be saddled with this debt for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And it will cost because there won't be the money to spend on all sorts of things that we do want to do.
Yeah.
Whether it's the NHS or whatever.
Yeah.
We are going to pay for it. We'll pay for it in our taxes or we'll pay for it in inflation.
We might even pay for it on the reputation of our country. We're the fairest country in the world. We don't arm our policemen here because we believe that we are a very civilised country. With the great things happening in this country. But when I read headlines like I did just a few hours ago, the British Airways posted a 6.25 billion loss in the last 9 months of trading. That is one of the great flagship companies of this country suffering enormous damage. I don't want to see that sort of thing happening.
How many of our pubs, which people have worked so hard and put their life and soul into and provided a great public service, how many of those are going to close? How many small businesses are closing?
Absolutely.
People worked so hard.
Yeah.
It's just ghastly. It's a disaster.